The Chiefs' regular season has concluded with a bit of a thud, but they are ready for what comes next, including that playoff field. That's tonight on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, everybody, as we wrap the regular season for the Kansas City Chiefs on the way to their playoff run. We're brought to you tonight by LinkedIn. We are live, thanks to them. We want to get you to, you can list and post and talk faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. Terms and conditions apply. But if you're looking for help, that's the place to go. The Chiefs are looking for a little help today. Didn't quite get it, but this was a unique scenario. What does it come down to? We're going to discuss it at length live with Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest. I'm Ryan Tracy from RGR Football and NFL33.com, as well as Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, because, yes, people are starting to talk about the draft already, and you can find Chris at KC Chiefs Corner so he can break it all down for you on everything you need to know. Check those out. Make sure you like and thumbs up, the whole 9 yards. Subscribe here at this channel. Go to Matt's channel at ChiefsDigest.com, as well as here on YouTube, and check it all out. We are going to go over the standouts and what's next for some of these players later in the show. We're going to talk about this vanilla day and the lessons that we could try to learn from it. Probably difficult. That's coming up in a little bit. But we're going to start with the fact that the Chiefs woke up and decided to sleepwalk through this ball game. Definitely a lot of players not on the field. That's got to be the biggest impact, Matt. As far as I understand from postgame, they did their job, number one. They escaped without any new injuries. Everything is ready to go for this postseason run. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, we'll see. Andy Reid jumped on the podium pretty quick, so I missed the injuries after the game. I do know they reported that Chamari Connor left with the shoulder during the game, so we'll see if that ends up being anything significant. It was a short post game. I mean, pretty much the biggest thing he just said was that he's going to evaluate the tape and take a look. Nothing really stood out to him about this game. I mean, there's a lot to watch with the young guys. But it wasn't a super happy, jovial Andy Reid. I think this game went even tougher than he imagined that it would be.
I will say this, when you watch this game and you go back and you look at the stats, I mean, Bo Nix going for 321 and 4 touchdowns, you're going to feel like this was a horrible game for the Chiefs. And it wasn't great. Obviously, 38 points, you don't ever feel good about giving that up as a defense. I get that. But when you look at all the guys that they had out and you look at the scheme that they were playing specifically, whatever. Get out of this without injuries. That's the big thing to me. And if they lost Chamari Connor to an injury for the playoffs, that really is going to be bad. But the thing I liked about seeing what this team did is you had DJ Humphries go in and play the entire game. That is so important and is going to be overlooked going into this next week. And then you have, Charles Omeni, who's still rounding into shape. He got some snaps in there. I think that's going to help him. So to me, you did the important things. You got your guys the snaps you wanted. You didn't do anything with the guys you didn't want to play. They didn't try to get DeAndre Hopkins his touchdown. Obviously, they were never really in a good position to do that, but they didn't try to force anything either. So I think that's what's important. And at the end of the day, Kansas City is 15-2. So you can say that this game didn't look great, but 15-2 and basically not having to play anybody for 3 weeks and get these guys healthy, get everybody as healthy as they possibly can be and as healthy as they've been all season for the most part when you're getting ready for whoever you're going to play in the divisional game is a great deal for Kansas City. And the Broncos going to the Bills is actually going to be a better matchup than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. I think this Broncos team is a lot better than a normal 7 seed. I think that they came on strong late, and I think that that's really going to make a difference. I'm not saying that they're going to beat the Bills, but I do think it's going to be an interesting game when they do play.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that really, played out today that is maybe a negative for the Chiefs from a postseason standpoint is that, hey, you'd love to maybe pick your opponent a little bit, and I think you'd love to have the right team coming in to face the Chiefs in the divisional round. But the way that it played out the last couple of days, yes, I think Denver going to Buffalo is great long-term for the Chiefs because Denver, I think with their defense and maybe with the way that, the offensive boost that they got today, they can give Buffalo a fight. They can take a chunk out of them physically, even if, it's 2 weeks later that, you're the Chiefs and you're facing, Buffalo potentially an AFC championship game. They can wear them down. I mean, that's going to be a grinding game for them. But now you've opened the possibility that, I mean, if the Broncos pull off an upset, maybe they're coming back to Arrowhead. And fresh off this game, now you're going to face the Broncos. Not great. But I think the most likely team for the Chiefs to now face in the divisional playoff round, honestly, is going to be the Chargers, because they've now made it up to the 5 seed. They're not going to have to deal with Baltimore. So they're going to Houston, a team that I think that they can beat. I think that the Ravens and the Bills will both advance in their games. And if that's the case, Chargers are going to be the team that comes to Arrowhead in that divisional round. And that's, I think, going to be a much tougher game. I mean, regardless, I think the last 2 teams that the Chiefs wanted to face in the divisional round was either of the AFC West opponents that made the playoffs, just because it's tough. Third game of the year, it's always tough. Maybe, hey, the Broncos, you don't have to be a third time now, so you got that going for you. But those, I think, we're going to be the 2 best teams, and now I think you get a real chance that one of them will be coming to Arrowhead in that divisional round.
It makes a lot of sense. That could be the way that it goes. I think division has been underrated all year long, and to see them all get in, Chargers in convincing fashion over the Raiders today, it sets everything up. But the bottom line is, you're not going to have to do the first round of battle. Just back to the whole concept this team's been under the entire year. Getting that first round bye sets the table, because no matter what happens, whoever plays whoever, there will be damage done. There will be a drain on what they're able to bring to the divisional round against the Chiefs. And I think that helps get everybody ready. If you had to pick the opponent, Matt, just out of preference, out of matchup, whatever it is there anybody either on the outside with the Bengals and the Dolphins not getting in at this point that you would have rather see be the Chiefs' first divisional matchup?
I mean, maybe the Bengals actually probably would have been one of the teams I think I would have been okay with as a Chiefs fan seeing them, because they're not a complete team. I mean, that's one of the reasons why they're on the outside looking in. Even when they played their best football this year, they were an offensive team with a bad defense. So, I don't think that they're nearly as scary as either the Chargers or the Broncos, because I think both those teams, Broncos proved today they've got a good defense. They can handle some things. Now, I mean, let's be real. The Chiefs were playing without 13 players, and 13 of their best players. So this, to a degree, you can certainly throw out. You can certainly say to yourself that you wanted the Chiefs to look better, that you wanted some things to look better, you wanted the defense to play better. All of those things can be true, while still acknowledging that the Chiefs played without 13 of their best players. So it's not like, this is the same team that Denver's going to face, the second time around. But, I mean, hey, you would have, if the Chiefs could have picked anybody, they would have said, yeah, hey, send the Dolphins to Kansas City in January. That's a good matchup. Now, I mean, if the Dolphins somehow manage to find a way past Buffalo, I mean, that would actually scare you that did they go into Buffalo and win? Well, maybe this isn't the same, Dolphins team, but I also don't think that's a Dolphin team that was capable of winning 2 playoff games in a row. I'm not sure that the Bengals are a team that can play 2 playoff games in a row. The Chargers might be, and the Broncos might be. So that's the only thing that would worry me about, having them. I think, once again, that's why, to me, those were the last 2 teams I think you want to face if you're the Chiefs. Pretty good chance. I mean, at this point, I think that, the Chiefs' best, the opponent, if they could pick one remaining, they'd say send the Texans back to Kansas City, because that's a team that they just beat, feel like that they're better than, and I think they are clearly better. So if the Texans can hold serve at home, I think that would be the ideal situation for the Chiefs.
I have to agree with that. I think the Texans would be the ideal situation, although I would say I would not worry about the Steelers near as much another time. This offense, I think, looked better, and I think can go up against that Steelers defense. And I think that the defense, when they get back and healthy, especially with a potential Jalen Watson returning, and I don't know if he'll be back for the divisional game, but at some point in the near future, that will change the way that this defense looks.
It certainly will. And there are a lot of things that are going to happen within this next week. We're going to focus on today. Very vanilla. What does it mean? Is there anything we can learn from it? That's coming up next.
Growing your small business in 2025, it comes down to how well you can hire. And let's face it, better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn comes in. With the strongest hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. I've used LinkedIn Jobs myself, and I can tell you it's a game changer when it comes to hiring the right fit. Small businesses are wearing a lot of hats, so every hire is crucial. LinkedIn gets that. That's why they connect you with the best candidates using data you won't find anywhere else. From unique skills and interests to the connections you share, LinkedIn helps you find the right person for the job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high-quality candidates. I know from experience how important it is to make the right hiring decisions. Having access to insights like what skills candidates have or how they're connected to your network really helps. That helps you feel confident when you pull the trigger. Hire smarter this year and find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? They definitely happened to me, and they helped a lot. There's a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for. Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant on your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel the unwanted subscriptions, monitoring your spending, and helps you lower your bills and everything that you're spending to grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, helps you, whether it's your subscriptions, your spending habits, or your goals that you want for this year. Rocket Money has 5 million users, and they've saved over 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they're using the app's premium services. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions right now and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. I love this portion of the show because this is, I think, where things generally make the difference for the future. What are you learning as you go away? I hate to get hung up on it, Matt, but maybe the biggest lesson is get to the airport a little bit earlier so you don't get stuck. This was a factor today, wasn't it?
I mean, I don't think it's any doubt that the Chiefs, that this team have to spend better part of 6 hours on a plane yesterday. Certainly couldn't have helped. I mean, I'm sure they streamlined things to get into the hotel and get to sleep at a regular time. They probably cut a couple of meetings, or at least, the couple hours they give the team to go out and grab dinner with their families and friends and everything. So that might have been the one thing that just got eliminated from it. But, again, I mean, I can't really blame the team. I mean, they tried to move up their departure. You can't just make a charter plane for 300 people and all of their football equipment just magically appear. So they tried to get a plane. They had some problems with it. The plane that they had apparently had a mechanical delay that delayed them from getting out before the airport closed. Those things happen. I mean, I don't think there's anything that the team could have done without short of a magic wand. But at the same time, they don't want to be on the plane for 6 hours. So I think if they know in the way that was going to unfold, maybe they even just push everything back, don't board the plane at 12:30. Knowing that they're maybe not going to get out of there until after 5, that kind of stinks. But hey, did this team play like a team that spent the better part of 6 hours on a plane yesterday? Yeah, they did. And I thought knowing that this team was also knew that they were going to be staying the night in Denver and leaving on Monday, it was, okay, is this going to make this team be like, all right, if we're going to be here for this long and we're going to have to go through all of this, then let's just go out and lay a hurt on somebody. Or was this team just going to be, this has been a long season. I mean, we're all just tired of this nonsense. Let's just get it over with. We'll get out of here eventually. We'll get home and then we'll have a couple of weeks off. And it was more the latter than the former. And again, I mean, you do it without 13 of your best players. And, and even then, I mean, you're even with some of your best players only played one drive, with your starting offensive line. So, there's even an asterisk there. As far as only 13, it's probably more like 16 to 20 that you really played without. So, I mean, take that into consideration. Is that an excuse? No, I don't. My Chiefs, once again, they never need me to make excuses for them. But am I worried about anything that came out of this game? No, because the Chiefs, once again, were playing without 16 to 20 of their players that are going to be keys in whatever team they play next.
Well, and you say 16 to 20, and that would probably be something that I would be worried about a little bit more if you couldn't tell how vanilla they played on offense and defense. I mean, They just try to do the least amount of possible things they could do. The biggest thing that they did that wasn't necessarily vanilla is they tried to move the pocket a couple of times when Carson Wentz was quarterback. I mean, they didn't really try anything offensively. They didn't really try anything defensively. They weren't blitzing. They were just having their guys go out there and do the minimum that they could do, trying to get through the game. And you could tell that by the way the score happened, and you could tell that by the way defense was giving up yardage. Bo Nix played well, but if this is a normal Chiefs defense, I don't think that they put up 20 points, because I think the Chiefs defense is going to, slow them down and be able to do different things. To me, being vanilla is exactly what they needed to do. And it goes beyond just trying to get ready for the playoffs. It's preparing as Denver may be your next opponent. Matt, you made a great point about it possibly being the Chargers. It could be the Chargers. It could be the Broncos. Beating both of those teams 3 times in a season is very hard. Obviously, they lost to the Broncos today, so it's a little bit different. But on a neutral field where the game mattered, I don't know that would be the case. But beating any team 3 times in a row in the regular season or in the regular season playoffs is going to be almost impossible. So it's going to be tough going into the playoffs, but they did what they needed to do. They stayed healthy. You got some guys some snaps that needed to get some snaps, and you got some guys some rest that really needed the rest.
I think that if there was anything to learn from this game, I mean, it mattered to the Broncos. So the Broncos weren't playing vanilla. The Broncos were playing their best football. And if either team put out anything that needed to be learned, it was the Broncos. I mean, there's the Chiefs now. I'm not even going to say 2 full games, because I think the Broncos did eventually kind of go vanilla in the second half, and maybe a little bit in the first half. But say now that the Chiefs have 1.5 full games of film that they can take from the Broncos offense and look at this going forward as they do see them again. There's nothing. The only thing that the Broncos could possibly have learned about this game is something about DJ Humphries, because that's the only lesson that the Chiefs needed to take away from this game. They needed to know if he could play left tackle going forward, and we'll see what Andy Reid thinks about that. We'll see if they felt like that they saw enough for him to be able to handle that spot. I thought he had really, one bad snap that stood out. Maybe watching it more, there'll be a few others that stand out, but I didn't think it was that bad. Like I said, I think he had one bad snap he'd like to have back, but other than that, I think you probably saw enough that maybe DJ Humphries can be your left tackle, and Joe Thuney can go back to left guard, which against playoff level competition, I think is important. As good as Joe Thuney has looked, I think you'd rather be comfortable keeping him at left guard and have DJ Humphries at left tackle against the Baltimores and the Buffaloes and whomever you may see down the road. So that was the one lesson to learn from the Chiefs today was, about DJ Humphries. And I think they've got enough data from today to be able to make the decision going forward. Is there anything that the Broncos took away from this game that they can apply to next time? Some false self-confidence maybe, because there should not be any real confidence today. They beat the JV team, and that's not a knock against those guys. It's just reality. If Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and 12 to 18 of their friends aren't out there, then it's not really the Chiefs.
You're absolutely right, and especially on the defensive side, when you look at your top 2 defensive linemen out, your top 2 linebackers out, your 2 of your most experienced and arguably the best secondary players, both out. So you're missing 2 cogs at every level of that defense. And all I've seen since this game has ended is about how great the Broncos offense looks. Well, calling it backups is being kind. This was less than 50% strength in my opinion. But there are going to be some standouts. So there are going to be some takeaways. We're going to get to those coming up next. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can bet just $5 and you get $150 back in bonus bets if you win right now. FanDuel Sportsbook, the app, gives you everything that you need to get bets in place for the NFL all in one place. So when you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, you live by that play-by-play, you can do that and much more on the same page right where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com today and join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So when you take a step back and you look at standouts, Chris, I think you had a thought there just at the end of the last one. Was that going to be somebody that made themselves known?
No, it wasn't really a standout. What I was going to say is I want to be fair to DJ Humphries. He hasn't played all season, and this is his second game back coming into a guy that has been phenomenal this year. There's a reason Benito has played at a Pro Bowl level. But the more important thing, to Matt's point, is Joe Thuney going back to left guard. If you can get a average left tackle from DJ Humphries in the playoffs, that is a huge upgrade at both left tackle, and it's an even bigger upgrade at left guard. Nothing against Caliendo, but he's nowhere near close to what Joe Thuney is. So you get those three back in the middle of your offensive line, you're going to be in a great position for the playoffs. So that's really where I was going with that thought. Guys that stuck out in this game. Nico Remigio had a good catch, I thought, in the third quarter. Carson Wentz actually had a pretty good throw, and Nico, hauling that ball in. I was encouraged from what I saw from him. I'm not thinking that he's an answer necessarily a wide receiver in the future, but definitely a kick returner and a guy that can at least try to contribute on the offense is what you need, and they're going to need going into the future going forward.
What did you think of his performance, Matt? Did anyone else stand out to you on the offensive side?
Yeah, I thought Nico had a couple of really nice catches. There was a third that went through his hands that I know he'd love to have back, and that was kind of the story of the offense. I mean, and that's again a reason why a lot of the guys we're talking about are backups. They all had some plays they'd like to have back. I didn't think Carson Wentz was as assertive as he could have been in some of his decision making. You look at some of the sacks, and except for maybe one of them, I really felt like a lot of those times they were either coverage sacks or they were, just him not making quick decisions. And that can be part of a layoff and not being in there consistently. I mean, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not laying on this all on Carson Wentz. I think it's a lot of it, once again, just comes back to the fact that you're talking about a lot of guys who don't get to play consistently, don't get enough work consistently, and therefore, don't have it. But you look at just the numbers go. I mean, hey, if there's anybody I want to see more of, it's over on the defensive side. Cam Jones tackled just about everything in sight, so that was a good sign. He had 12 tackles. I can't really say there was any moment that really thought that guy didn't look good. Joshua Uche had some moments, and that's something, he hasn't really had an opportunity. I think we kind of saw, though, maybe why he's a little bit of a square peg into a round hole. He is more of a 3-4 guy than a 4-3 guy. And the Chiefs thought it would be kind of cool to get Spags one of those pieces and see if it's something that he can, fit with and maybe use. And maybe there will be a use for Joshua Uche down the road. Maybe there's an opponent in particular that they feel like he's a kind of piece that they can use, and a chess piece. It's just not a 17 game chess piece that he's going to be. So let's see what happens. Blake Lynch had 6 tackles. This is a guy probably doesn't even know half the guys on the team.
Thank you for pointing that out. I was going to go 5-9 earlier, and we didn't get around to it. That's awesome.
I think the guy's been here 6 days. So, yep. I mean, that's pretty impressive to me. So I'm going to give it up to him. I mean, a bad day for the defense, and here I am naming off a lot of defensive guys, but outside of Remigio, I mean, Carson Steele, I didn't think got a ton of opportunities. 8 carries for 25 yards. I mean, you'd like to see a little bit more production there, because I honestly didn't think that the offensive line, like I said, played that badly. There was no doubt that the Broncos, it looked like, were for the most part really trying to attack the edges. They really didn't try to challenge Hunter Norzad, and I don't know if that was just partly by design or how it ended up, but it just seemed like there was a lot of snaps where Hunter Norzad was just like, I got no way to block. I got to go find somebody because they were going outside all day long. And, and there was another play too, because, Felix and Adike Uzama had another nice play in the run game that, I probably need to take a look at it more to see how the entire game was, but he had a really nice play. And that just goes back to, again, there have been some times that, with Felix, that he's had some really good moments, and shows you that, hey, you know what? There might still be something with Felix.
I like that you bring that up, and you hit one of my guys. I thought Norzad played very admirably in his first real action, because you didn't see him singled out. I thought he made good moves. And the other one that stood out to me that I was watching quite a bit, kudos to Tui Peloto, because I thought Marlon went out there and held his own against a starting offense that was trying to get something done. He got moved off the ball a few times. Yes, that certainly happened. But he played, 48 out of the 74 snaps in what his only significant action was this year. I came away feeling pretty good about that. And I think we have to recognize that despite not having Justin Reed, Jaden Hicks is still a guy and still a performer, no matter what. He stood out to me as well. Anybody else to you, Matt?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Jaden Hicks, because that was a guy that I wanted to bring it back to. That's one of the guys that, not a starter, but I kind of consider him in that first group. So I probably neglected to mention him in the first one, but I mean, he had one of the best pass, coverages of the day on Sutton, breaking up a pass, and that's important. I think another good moment for him. Jaden Hicks has done nothing to impress me all season, and so that's just the next step in his evolution and development. You like to see that. I was surprised that they had Brian Cook play as much as he did. I thought he was a guy that could have maybe used to break off, but once again, losing Shamari Connor might have played a little bit into that, and with the way that the Chiefs had managed their elevations, they didn't have a Deion Bush today. They used Blake Lynch to come off. So, they were a little shorthanded at safety as a result. And, that's probably why he had to play maybe a little bit more than they wanted him to. Obviously, if you're going to look at the concerns, one of the concerns is obviously going to be a cornerback, because, again, nobody stood out. Najee Johnson had a lot of tackles, but that's not necessarily a good thing, because it means they were picking on him and throwing the football at him a lot, and he was giving up catches if he's getting tackles. Josh Williams kind of had, once again, the up and down game. I mean, you see some mistakes, you see some penalties, and then you see some good plays. Just lacks consistency, and that's what the Chiefs have wanted. I'm probably going to end up on some people's naughty list here, but I do have to defend Harrison Butker, because the dude's going to miss a 51-yarder on occasion. I mean, I'm just the reality of it. He missed a 29-yarder couple of weeks ago. Not ideal Harrison Butker, but you got way too small of a sample size in these 4 or 5 games that he's had since he's come back. He's only had one miss that was really concerning. Dude's missed, PATs before, but there's also only 3 people alive who have more postseason field goals than he has. And I mean, no, this is not a knock against like a Spencer Schrader, who's on injured reserve, and I don't even know if healthy enough to kick, or Matt Wright, who's under contract to the Titans and might not be available. Neither one of those dudes have ever kicked in a postseason game. So I'm like, this is one take that you lose me. If your take is that the Chiefs need to be concerned about Harrison Butker going to the playoffs, I'm out, because I'm not concerned about Harrison Butker.
I am a little bit, but not what you're talking about. I'm not worried about the misses. I'm worried about his health. I'm worried about his knee being healthy. And that's why when we talked about it during the week, Ryan, I said, if I'm them, I'm having Justin Reed go out and kick any field goals or extra points, and maybe even do kickoffs, because give Harrison Butker the 3 weeks that it's going to be before I think he can go kick in practice and it be the same thing. The 29-yarder was a bad setup, but this one, obviously, we'll see how things go. I'm more concerned about his health going forward. I'm not worried about him in the way he kicks. Like, I'm not worried like he's going to pull a Tyler Bass. That's not my concern. It's, can he stay healthy? Can he keep that knee healthy? Because I do think he's probably going to need surgery in the offseason. But you look at the rest of this Chiefs team, it's just a matter of getting through this game and getting to the playoffs at this point. The one question that you're going to have, and this is not something we're going to get an answer to for 2 weeks, is can they go almost 3 weeks without 16 of their guys getting meaningful snaps and still be fresh and still be ready to go correctly for the divisional game? Because that is a very long layoff.
It's a long layoff, but I've been saying I'm not terribly concerned about it, because look at the people that we're talking about here. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce,
absolutely,
and Chris Jones. And it's not even, to me, it's not even just the experience. It's just that, can you imagine these dudes and a Nick Bolton and a Drew Tranquil? Can you imagine any of these dudes being, on the sidelines for 3 weeks and not showing up at their next game, with the energy and the fire that, these are dudes that are probably going to be ready to rip somebody's head off when they get back onto a field again. And Mahomes, and as competitive as he is, so I don't worry about them losing that edge or anything. And honestly, if there's a moment of rust that you have to knock off, that is more than enough to be going to be offset by the rest and the renewed energy that these guys should have going into the final 2 or 3 games of the season.
Yeah, I certainly believe so. When they need that edge, they're going to work on it. They are going to get ready and start preparing, as are we. We will be back tomorrow and the next day, and Matt will be with us. And we will continue to look forward and preview games, including the slate of wildcard weekend. We'll have that for you in the week, so don't miss. We're still 5 days a week, no matter what time of year or whether the Chiefs are playing this week or not. So make sure you check us out. Make sure you get over to ChiefsDigest.com, Chiefs Digest here on YouTube. I'm going to be live here in about 10 minutes over on RGR Football answering your questions. So don't miss that. Go to KC Chiefs Corner and check out everything Chris has laid out for you there. Matt, thanks for the time post-game. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. And you'll get more of me on 41 is the mic later tonight. So don't miss that either.
Plenty of outlets, folks. We're everywhere. Thank you for being with us. Enjoy the time off, and let's get ready for that next round. Have a good one. We'll catch you next time.